Meeting will now come to order with our roll call. Mr. Landwehr.
I am present.
Ms. Sari. Here. Mrs. Livingston Natalie.
Here.
Mr. Bramlin.
I'm here.
Mrs. Olson.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
All please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The agenda was posted throughout the district according to school board policy, published as a legal ad in the Superior Telegram, posted on the district webpage, and sent to the WNXR radio station for announcement. A meeting notice was sent to the connection for publication. We would start with the approval of the July 19th, 2021 agenda.
Motion approved.
All right,
Second.
we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for the meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to consent agenda, beginning with the June 14th, 2021 regular board meeting minutes that you have in your packets. Our treasurer's report, Mr. Landry.
Summary of the treasurer's report as of June 30th, 2021. In the general fund general account. On June 30th, 2021, there was a balance of $4,393,315.79 in cash and investments. Receipts since the 1st of July and not included in the June 30 balance were $141,881.95. And the disbursements from tonight's July 19 board meeting total $0. Flexible spending account on June 30th, 2021, there was a balance of $35,636.05 in cash and investments. In the health reimbursement account on June 30th, 2021, there was a balance of $14,722.32 in cash and investments. In the debt service fund on June 30th, 2021, there was a balance of $673.24 in cash and investments. And the capital projects fund on June 30th, 2021, there was a balance of $37,095.86 in cash and investments. And a more detailed report on fund activity is included for your review in the financial statements.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Payment of invoices, which again are in our packets. And then moving on to resignations, employment, and leave of absence.
Tanya Amos, math teacher at Northwestern High School, as well as the math department chair and National Honor Society advisor. Courtney Janowitz, kindergarten teacher at Northwestern Elementary School. Colin Wheata, part-time art teacher at Iron River Elementary School. Molly Stonecipher, school counselor, part-time in 2021, but was scheduled to be full-time in 21-22. Is it okay to go on for employment?
Please.
Maura Halverson, 5th grade at Northwestern Elementary School to replace Shannon Hogan, who is going to provide reading support to students. Laura Pulaski, student transitions coordinator at Northwestern High School. Candy Staria, library media paraeducator at Northwestern Elementary School, taking Carolyn Pufal's position. Leave of absence.
And leave of absence.
Felicia Cawthor, part-time sped paraeducator, is requesting a 1-year 21-22 leave of absence. And see your packet for details.
I have a question with that. Shannon Hogan, is that something that we don't approve? Is it?
Right, transfers you don't approve.
Okay, so
Once-
she's got her 316 license?
She does not. She would be under the provisional until she would do a portfolio in order to be able to get that. But she's also allowed to work underneath Catherine Williams, who is a 317, and so she would be consulting. I guess she has to have her lesson plans checked over by the 317 Catherine Williams.
Was that posted
Yes,
for?
Still is.
still is.
Still posted. So the current staff that we have, we're letting them that even if they don't have their license, that
Every
they
single,
have
it
an
went out
option to.
internally. And she's the only one. Well, we had 2 who applied, but another teacher who did apply wanted to stay where he currently is, but he would have been licensed for it, and he was grateful that he was able to get the certification to stay exactly where he currently is, and so he removed his interest in that 316 position that Shannon then is the only internal one that was left.
Could I clarify? She was talking, you were kind of talking at the same time, so I didn't catch it. I'm sorry. Were you asking if they were specifically told that internally that if they didn't have that license, they could still apply for it?
Anyone can apply if they don't even have the license, they
Okay.
still apply. Because nowadays with,
So we didn't specifically tell them.
we didn't specifically say, oh, we'll
You
figure
don't-
it out for you if you apply. No,
Right.
we didn't write that in the posting. We said, this is the posting, it is open, if you wish to apply, please do. And Shannon already has some coursework in that area, has a great deal of interest in that area, and she applied.
have another question then. We've got resignations, every month we have resignations, I understand. And I've touched on this before in the past. Exit interviews, I think, are incredibly important.
And they're all done,
I think we need to be, quick on them and current,
and she is. We already have
And-
Courtney Janowitz's done.
And then I guess I would suggest, as a board, somebody here looks at those exit interviews, because
We
I don't
have
know.
a master list that is already prepared, and now the new ones are added in. You will see a copy of that at the September board meeting, and we can then also add into that, what are we doing about the comments that were made in there? Specifically because you asked for that and Sherry asked
Yep.
for
I'm
that.
just wondering, is there somebody on this board that actually goes through the exit interviews right now? And
No,
actually-
and that's not the board member's role, but giving you the gist of every comment, you will all get a gist of every comment for every one of the answers in that report.
Okay.
If you need the report, like right now, I can even give that to you right
No.
now. I was waiting to come up with Wendy, find a time with Wendy to work on, well, what are we doing based off these comments to make things better? Because sometimes the comments, one of the comments was, need to have more para training for the support staff
Right.
paras. And so Cody is now in charge of coming up with the training along with Ellison Nielsen at the August training time.
So when you say we're gonna get the gist of it, we're not gonna get the whole thing.
You're not gonna get the whole thing, because if they knew that you were gonna get the whole thing
Mhm.
and their name, they would not be candid.
But I think that if they know that it's not gonna get to us, they're not gonna be candid either, because they're afraid of retribution. If they know that, let's just say somebody doesn't like the superintendent, 5 years from now, we got a superintendent that just is, there's something that they hate. If they know it never goes anywhere, they're not gonna say anything. If they think it's gonna go to somewhere, like the board, in corporate America, that's kind of what happens. They will be, but it's
They've
probably a
been
topic
very
for another.
candid, and you'll see how
Okay.
candid they are in the comments, Mr. Johnson.
Okay,
I could be incorrect in this, so correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it my understanding that at an exit interview, the employee that's leaving has the option to have an exit interview either with you
Yep.
or with Wendy,
Right.
and they have the opportunity to have a third party present as well, or am I incorrect in that?
I don't think we've had anybody have a third party present.
Okay.
I
And I don't mean board, I meant like a colleague, or maybe that was some other issues that you can have that I'm trying to remember.
I had an investigation.
Yeah, maybe that's what I got
Yeah,
mixed
yes,
up in my
yeah,
head.
But I don't think it's ever been where.
But they do have an opportunity to have it with somebody other than the superintendent.
Yes, I haven't conducted any of them. Wendy's handled all of them.
Oh, okay.
No,
Do they know, are they told who it's shared with? Do they know who it's shared with, and is that it, or?
I think it's very important, but as far as there's no names attached to anything. And it was the gist of the comment, you wouldn't be able to tell who it came from at all.
But I mean, if I'm the one that's leaving and I'm doing that interview, am I told this will be shared with,
The gist of it with the board, no, I don't think so.
I mean,
Or so are you thinking
I
that maybe we
mean, well,
should do?
Mr. Johnson seems to indicate that they would be more open.
And I agree with that, being a staff member, I agree with that as well.
I don't know. I don't know what they have to lose if they're leaving anyway, but
well, lots of people, when they leave, they want to leave the door open. They want to, make good relations, and they know that if they say something bad against somebody that's in front of them, maybe they have something against Wendy. I don't know if anybody has anything against Wendy, but maybe they don't like something. They're not going to say to Wendy, Wendy, I don't like you, because they know it's not going to go any farther, because Wendy's not going to tell somebody that. I just think that it's probably good somebody on the board, not everybody, but maybe the school board president just reviews the exit interview incomplete, just to find out, and then make sure that that person knows the school board president will read this.
Although, did you also say that there are no names attached to it?
The one that is being prepared, and it's already prepared for the board, there's no names to it. It's the gist of what their comment or their point was
So there are no names attached to it for us to see or for anybody to see?
for anybody to see.
So if Wendy does the exit interview with Sherry, I'm just gonna use her as an example. Her exit interview is then shared with you, but there are no names attached that
No,
those
I
words
do
come out
get
of
a
her
copy of every exit interview. She tells every person that I would get to see that.
mouth. That's what I'm asking. So it's confidential outside of Wendy and you and the staff person meeting.
Absolutely.
That's what you're saying.
Absolutely, and it's happened where I need to have a conversation with a principal of that particular person because some of the issues only the principal can fix.
No, I
And it
understand.
can't fall on just deaf ears or it just issue perpetuates.
And the point of the exit interview is
Right.
not there. Okay. Any other,
I think that's it for.
otherwise I would look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Can I ask one more question before we do that?
Mhm.
And I apologize, my week last week personally was a little busy and I didn't get to reading this until late, so I apologize. One of the questions that I have is the replacement for we're gonna have to hire another high school math teacher. So when that happens, I know in the past that you had authority, and correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, you had the authority to go outside of some of those hiring practices as far as wage goes
Oh, yeah.
for math, was it math,
Math,
science?
special ed, sci,
There-
high
there-
needs.
there are a handful
High
of them.
needs, yeah.
So, I know, because in the past you've hired some and come to us and said, this is who we've got, this is what we had to do in order to get them.
Right.
I assume we're gonna be in the same thing, and
We
I
will
would
be in
fully
the same
expect that
boat.
we're gonna end up being
Yeah.
a pricey hire there. Okay,
And it's 1.5 because Ken Bartel's position is still open. We have not found that. We were gonna wait until August 1st to still see if we could find someone at halftime rather than by August 1st. If we still don't, we might have to go full-time, just even get it.
2 full-time.
Yeah.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye. Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to approval items, we have a contract for a part-time art teacher as per Appendix A, which all of you have. Did you want to say anything
No,
about
I
that?
think it's pretty clear.
Okay, all right.
Did
It's
we,
grateful to find them.
we voted on what's in that appendix last year regarding the breach, did we not?
We did, that's why.
That's why it's in there
That's
again, but we
correct.
voted to.
Correct, and that's why the need here is in this unique situation of trying to find a 0.23% art teacher who's already successfully taught for our kids, is it 4 years already? We need to do some accommodations.
What are your wishes?
I'm not finding a word.
I'll make a motion to approve it, Mayor.
Yes.
Second the motion.
Thank you, Gail.
We have a motion and a second to approve the contract for a part-time art teacher as per Appendix A. This will be a roll call vote.
May I ask a question? I'm having a hard time
Do you want
finding.
mine?
Yes, please. That'd be a lot faster. Thank you. I'll make it quick, I'm sorry.
Maybe we want to start with Sherry.
All right. Mrs. Olson? Mr. Granlund?
Yes.
Mrs. Livingston Everly?
Yes.
Mr. Landwehr?
No.
Ms. Sari?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Can I vote nothing? Can I, because I just didn't see this, I'm sorry. I'm gonna vote no, just because, and that's my fault, I'm sorry.
And I vote yes. Motion carries. Item B, tentative agreement, reopening the local 1397A of the AFL-CIO for mechanic increase.
Any questions on the situation? No? This is money, so I think it ought to be a roll call.
Yes, yes. Right, we need a motion. Second and a roll call.
I'll make a motion to approve the item B, tentative agreement, reopening as to how it's written. Is that satisfactory?
Sure. Or Mr. Angela's
Mr. Anthony's,
increase as per other support staff.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the tentative agreement for the wage increase for John Antela, the 2% as others were given,
Along with the,
along with the hourly rate
Rate.
increase, yes.
Does he know that this was coming to the board?
um,
He doesn't know that, hey, I got left out and now nobody's doing anything about it. He knows that.
he
this
knows
is-
that it needed to happen.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Sari,
Yes.
Mr. Lambert,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mrs. Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Granlund,
yes,
Mrs. Livingston Netherly,
Yes.
and I vote yes, that motion carries. We have the 2021-22 school year food service and meal prices.
Okay, traditionally, we would, like I'm going back past, previous to last year, we would come to the board with the set of meal prices that we would determine based upon what the new federal rate was and whatever other guidelines we had from the EPI. Last year, what was in place was called the Seamless Summer Option, SSO, except it applied to the whole year. And what that did was that allowed us to provide meals at no cost to all students. Okay, and in doing so, we had a fairly high reimbursement rate. I don't have it in front of me. Reimbursement rate for that. Okay, they have, and there's obviously federal money coming into the state to do this. They are extending that into this school year. So we sat down and filled out the application for that. Qualify. We plan on doing that. Our option was to go back to traditional, but in being able to do this, why would we do that? Because we added over 80,000 last year to the food service balance.
We added that?
We added that because those rates are so high. So we plan on doing that again this year.
And it's wonderful for all our parents. No cost
No.
for any of the meals.
Right, no, because there is the possibility based upon the decisions to allow with whatever is required to distance learn, because we have that option. Okay, we also, in applying for this, have to also have one or more sites available so that they can come in and get meals and take them home or whatever.
Can the site be a school or does
It
it
has
have
to-
to be a
no,
community site?
High school.
It has to be a school. So what we did is we set the high school in Iron River. The other two sites are closed to that.
Okay.
So, so I guess that's what we're recommending, and that would mean no meal prices except for adults.
Wow.
I
You said that for the year or the end of
It's for the
the
whole
calendar
We
year?
set this for the
No,
school year.
the whole school.
The school year. Now, what's gonna happen in the future? I believe this will go away. We'll be sitting there with a very large fund balance, and we may have to do something. The state would say you can't keep building Fund 50. Because once it's in Fund 50, you can't transfer it to any other fund.
I was gonna ask, is there any type of a concession that they can make to do that? I mean, can we write to like WASB and say, hey, our food fund balance is
No,
a gazillion?
no, you have to, you use it to, let's say if your dishwashing system is dated, you replace that. That's big bucks. We need, our delivery van is close to shot, so we can buy a delivery van.
So we can take care of that pretty quickly with the new
Right.
van.
Yeah,
And with a
well,
lift
part of
on it.
yeah.
To
But
not
they would-
break the back of.
What they would make us do is lower lunch prices out in the future, so that we would pull that balance back down.
I see.
So what I'm asking for is approval to
Keep
go
it
with
as-
yeah, we apply for the SSO. There's no reason why that's gonna change. So I guess if You approving zero as meal prices, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, great.
However you wanna word it.
I'll make the motion that we move forward with the service / meal prices at zero for
The seamless summer option,
the upcoming
SSO.
year.
The SSO.
Second by Gail.
Thank you, Gail. We have a motion and a second to approve the SSO food service for the coming school year, 2021-22. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. All right, milk bids for the coming school year, Mr. Steph.
Okay, because there's federal money involved here that we claim for some of this. We are required to do bids. Last year, we only had one bid. That was from up north, Food Service in Ashland. Camps did not bid. We invited Camps again this year. They did bid, but up north Food Service is lower. So I'm recommending that we accept the bids from up north Food Service for
And
rebuild.
they've done a good job and
Oh, yeah.
everything's been,
Yeah, we've had no service issues with them. They're good. So.
very good.
What's the escalator? Not an escalator, but the one referred to here.
Well, let's see, what was that check against?
The asterisk.
Yeah,
If they wanna reopen the bid, if the price of fuel goes up to $12.
yeah, I don't have the details. to give you that.
Okay, but it's an option if
It's
you.
kind of a fail-safe thing.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Plus contracting companies do the same thing.
Fuel pricing.
Two bit more company.
Just in case something crazy happens, I suppose. Okay, we have a motion.
I'll move to accept the bid about North Food Service.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Up North Food Service for milk delivery for the 2021-22 school year. We will do a roll call vote on this one as well. Mrs. Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Granlund?
Yes,
Mrs. Livingston Elliott?
Yes.
Ms. Sari?
Yes.
Mr. Landwehr?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Moving on, we have the 21-22 employee handbook and revisions. Are there any comments, questions that you haven't already had answered about that?
I have a question. Who went through and kind of did all this? Was it the administrative staff or?
Each administrator did for the.
Okay.
Peggy put it all together.
thank you for doing that.
You're welcome, thank you. If there are no questions or comments, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, Gail.
Second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the employee handbook and the revisions that we have in front of us. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Every year, I think we have to do this, right? The adoption of the Wisconsin Model Standards, Common Core Standards, and National Science Standards for the district for the 2021-22 school year.
And I'm gonna apologize, but last year, when this came up, I was fairly new, and I kind of plugged my nose and I voted yes. I plan on voting no today because I don't know what these standards are. I don't know what the Common Core standards are and the National Science Standards. It's so much information that if you ask me what is the National Science Standard, I can't tell you. And I don't know if everybody else had enough time to do all that and do the homework, because there's a lot of homework. So I'm gonna end up voting no on this, but I want you to know why. It's because I can't know what's in there. And I think that in the future, when we get this to us, if I could have somebody from our science department come here and say, I reviewed the standards and we are staffed and we can handle this, and our teachers can handle this and they're comfortable with this, then I can maybe, say, okay, I've got a professional that did that. Same thing with the math or the Common Core, all that stuff. But right now, when it's just wide open and we're voting, I don't know what I'm voting for. So I'm gonna end up voting no, not because I've got something specific, but because last year when I was reading through this, it was a ton of stuff that I just couldn't keep up with.
And I think we rely on our people
Right.
to know that they're getting covered, so science department, and I understand where you're coming from.
And do they? And if I heard somebody say that, if I heard some of our people come and say, yep, we got it covered, and maybe they do, and I'd feel way more comfortable if I heard them say, yeah, we got it covered, we know what the standard is, and we're gonna be able to do it.
They not only do, they have the work to get their textbooks based off the standards. And everyone's doing it to the best of their ability.
And I don't doubt that. I just, when I read through some of that stuff, it's like, well, I disagree with a whole lot of things in there, but that doesn't mean I'm right. It doesn't mean that I should vote against it, for one certain thing, but anyway, I think it'd be more useful for me if I can, and I promise by next year, I'm gonna read through that a lot better.
Anyone else?
Do you need a motion?
We do need a motion.
This says, this last paragraph, notice may be provided electronically, including posting the notice or a link to the pupil academic standards on the school district's internet site. Is that posted on the website?
Yep, it is. It has been for about 3 years.
Just because it says it may, I guess I'm just wondering if we do or not.
We're doing it.
This approval is by statute.
Yeah.
We have to do it, whether you agree with it or not.
Well,
By statute, it's required.
But can I ask a question? Because that's what I heard last year. Are they telling us by statute you have to vote yes? Or are they telling it, because if they are, then why are we voting?
Because they're telling, excuse me,
Go ahead.
because you addressed me.
Yes, I am.
Because I think that what's happening is that the state is addressing it to make sure that you have to follow the rules. And that's what it is. I mean, these are standards set by the state that we have to teach.
Right.
Regardless of whether you agree with it or not,
Right.
this is what we're told by our bosses, what has to be
Right.
taught.
So it does irritate me that the state is telling us, you have to vote for it, you have to vote yes. That irritates me.
It's more like acknowledging.
Acknowledge it.
Acknowledging, that's a great
Because
idea.
we're not allowed to go
That
rogue.
this is what we're using,
Right, this is what we're
this
using,
is what it is, what our standards are.
To meet the graduation requirements of
but the state's doing.
the state, correct.
Move for approval.
Second, Gail.
We have a motion and a second to approve the adoption of the Wisconsin Model Standards, the Common Core Standards, and the National Science Standards for the district for the 2021-22 school year. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries. We had a meeting of the Buildings, Grounds, and Transportation Committee prior to this meeting, and we would like to hear the recommendations from our chairperson, Mrs. Livingston Matherly.
Yes, Mr. Granlund, Mr. Johnson, and myself met earlier today to discuss a few items that we'll bring forward to you. One was the Town of Maple requesting discussion on the use of their towns. It involved Maple and Poplar. I think most of you were here for most of that discussion. There's some concerns about the use of their road and the wear and tear on their roads in regards to the route that our buses are taking. We came up with a decision that we need to maybe have a ad hoc meeting that can maybe meet with some of the town individuals to come up with a plan, because it's really impossible for us to come up with a solution, we felt today. So that would be our recommendation for that would be to move forward with a special meeting, which we did have some members on that. I don't remember who you
We have
listed.
Mr. Granlund, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Stafford, Lester Weezy, and then the town of Maple and town of Poplar would have representatives as well. A tentative date pending if the others are available. It's Tuesday, August 10th at 9 a.m. right here.
So that would be our recommendation for the town issue. The next item that we talked about, there was a couple of other ones. One was just a rundown of what's being accomplished as far as construction projects ongoing right now. And that was pretty much just an informational thing, which I believe you've already got that attached in our packets. And lastly was just some clarification on how we had decided the wording on bonuses. There was a little bit of confusion. We have the bus driver bonuses that stay completely the same. We just discussed the sub bonuses, correct? The bus driver bonuses for full-time and bus driver stays exactly how it was before. However, with the subs, we just wanted to clarify that there was some confusion on if you resign as a bus driver or retire and come back, are you allowed to get the bonus? The wording is that, and I will read it here, that because you are leaving at a higher rate than a new sub coming in, that you would not get the bonus, was my understanding. That, is this the additional here that I would want to read this as is? The bus driver signing bonus eligibility, the bottom here. And this, remember, keep in mind, is sub. So for a new sub applicant hired, but who has never worked for the district and who would require training, their bonus would be $400. For a new applicant hired and has bus driver experience, but has also never worked for the district, their bonus would be $600. And again, there would not be a bonus for someone retiring and then returning because of the understanding that they are allowed to sub at their wage that they left at, and not the lower sub wage, but the wage that they retired at.
Got it.
And that was the gist of everything we discussed.
Was there wording in that? Because didn't we talk, when we discussed about this previously, I don't know if last month or the month before, that if some had a sub for X amount of days before they would qualify for that, is that, even though we changed the wording, does that need to be in there, or is that in there somewhere else to reflect that?
It's in there somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's
I think
already in
it
there.
is.
It was
Okay.
just
Yeah.
the clarification
You
of the
only pulled
bonus.
up the one line of the multiple.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we
But
didn't
we also,
say yes to one and omit another by
Yeah.
accident.
what we also did talk about though is that if someone worked for the district in any other capacity, like they were a para, and they wanted to now become a sub driver, they would be eligible to be getting the bonus. But it's just a driver before and a driver now, no, because they're gonna get an exit rate that's much higher.
So for
than
example, if
22.
you were a retiring bus driver and you exited at $24, you would be able to get that rate as a sub
Would.
if you came back versus the $22 rate for just the standard sub rate. So that was the confusion, I think, for many of us. We weren't understanding why we weren't giving returning bus drivers, because it kind of felt like, wouldn't we want to encourage them because they
And
don't
we
get the
are.
training?
Right.
But
We
if
are.
they're getting the higher, with the understanding they're getting the higher exit rate.
Right.
All right, that's all we have.
They'll come up with that. All right, thank you for that report, and I would look for a motion to approve their recommendations. Would you say it involves money because of this?
No,
No.
not really, because the bonus is
already-
just either the getting it or the not.
Right, okay, so we don't need a roll call. No. All right. I would look for a motion.
Motion to accept the recommendation of the.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the recommendations from our Buildings, Grounds, and Transportation Committee report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That motion carries. Now, we have policies. in a long list of policies. So we have some that are the first reading, so we will do no action on those tonight.
Correct.
That would be
4 of them.
for next time, the first four. Do I need to read what they are?
Nope.
Okay, all right. Otherwise, we have those that are revised or just updated, and those we can act on tonight. Also, when that is deleted.
Correct.
There were a lot of them and a lot of reading, I understand that. And I know that you have reached out already, many of you with questions and comments on some of the policies. Is there any
I
tonight?
guess I have a question. This is a big chunk to swallow. I feel like I'm eating an elephant here. We need to, eat it bite at a time. Who, Neola, does it, upgrades a step? Who gives Neola the direction on what we have upgraded? What we need that change or whatever? Do we?
I do and Peggy does,
Okay. So
From the attorneys.
from the attorney.
So you went through the whole policy book and you picked all these different things?
No, they tell us what ones by legal statute needs to be adjusted, or by like a law case that came by that a school district may have
Yep.
lost, they adjust that thing.
Because this was so much information and there's a lot of questions that I have in there. Again, I can't vote yes on a whole package like this when it's presented like this. I think we need to have smaller chunks so we can actually understand what we're voting on, I think.
It's bigger than normal, is because of the COVID. There was
Sure.
two
Right.
sessions. You're gonna have another one in the fall. That's gonna be a lot smaller.
Can we get it a lot sooner so we can read it? I mean,
We can only get it to you when we get it ourselves.
Right. So anyway, again, I'm gonna end up voting no on this because it's too big of a chunk to bite off, and there's plenty of things in here that, I have questions about, even small things like wording, all right? And when I say this, the attorneys will put things in there, but they know that words mean something, right? Shall, must, will, those are all very clear. But one of the things in there says the hiring legal counsel will be done by the school board president and the superintendent. Well, now let's go 5 years or 10 years down the road. When our existing administration is gone, we don't know who we're gonna have. And if we say hiring legal counsel is chosen by the superintendent and the school board member, doesn't say or, but and means something. It means it has to be both. Well, what if the school board president is needing to get counsel for something that this new superintendent did? I don't think it makes sense. That's just one little piece in there where it's like, you gotta change that to and or something like that. And it's just so much in there that if an attorney looked at that, or my attorney looked at that, he'd chew it up, I think. So, it's just my personal opinion, we've got too much there to actually digest.
Prior to Neola, I believe we had to do it ourselves, right?
Correct.
And so it would be impossible.
It would be impossible, I believe that. And I wanna make it perfectly clear, none of this has anything to do with the current administration or people or anything. I mean, I think everybody's doing a fantastic job, but weirder things have happened than a school board president and a superintendent in cahoots on something. We don't know that. If 10 years from now, we don't know what we're gonna have. Hopefully we'll, it'll be all fine.
Basically, you could, if that bothered him and wanted to change it to and or.
Right, so there's just little things like that, but I just think overall, there's just too much in there for us to vote in one little swoop without having some clarification. Too much for me. I'm sure, it's different for everyone.
Anyone else?
Is there we vote today?
Yep.
On the
I'm
revision?
pretty sure it's gonna end up going forward, but Mr. Johnson goes through over the next 30 days and reads that. He can bring that back to either one of you
Absolutely.
and
Put it on the
say,
agenda.
I want this particular thing on the agenda, we can
Absolutely.
revise it and go from there. Right? It's always been that.
Oh,
So,
It can be revised
Yep,
anytime,
anytime.
depending on our, needs.
Correct.
And and I appreciate that comment, because that's a good probably solution for me to go through and pick the things that need to be and then look at.
I'll give you an opportunity to get clarification
Correct.
prior to getting it on the agenda if need be,
Yep.
if it needed to be.
And I appreciate that.
And I asked a lot of your same questions earlier today. So, I mean, as far as, and what brings about the changes. But I do think a lot of it does have to do with punctuation, capital letters,
Oh, yeah.
board, like the Board of Education, now it's just board, and I mean, I think
Right, a lot of that
a lot
stuff
of
is
it's just-
absolutely easy.
and all of that stuff adds up to make a packet this big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is true.
Exactly.
That is true.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve revised policies.
All right.
Second.
And, okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the revised, and can I add the deleted?
Oh, yeah.
Revised and deleted, yes, yes,
Okay.
because words are important.
Policies. All in favor, say aye.
I
Opposed?
I
Motion carries.
phoned this line, I'm
And we'll
sorry.
have the first four ready for next time. And we all have them plenty of time. Moving on to our administrative report, beginning with communications received.
Yes, a thank you for the memorial from the family of Robert Johnson, Carlene Brandemeyer's father. Mr. Smith has provided an athletic and activities report for June due to the extended sports season. A copy of the WASB 2021 resolutions. Feel free to request to review this book at any time. June 11th, 2021 and June 21st, 2021. Correspondence from Senator Janet Bewley and a June 30th, 2021 a correspondence from Representative Beth Myers regarding Dr. Crony reaching out concerning the 21-23 budget, biennial budget, supporting materials regarding board voting, minutes from the June 14th Building Grounds and Transportation Committee meeting, and correspondence from Department of Public Instruction that the Northwestern Elementary School was recognized by the Wisconsin RTI Center and the DPI for implementation of reading. They got the bronze level. Math, they got the bronze level. Northwestern Middle School was recognized for implementation in behavior, bronze level. Reading, bronze level. Math, bronze level. And Northwestern High School was recognized for implementation in a silver for reading level and math, a bronze level. Should I go on?
Yes.
Okay, WASP Region 1 election. Board of Directors. Each school district can submit a name of one board member who has an interest in running for the WASP Region 1 Board of Directors. A written request needs to be submitted to WASP 40 days prior to the Region 1 meeting, postmarked by August of 2021. And the nomination form is in all of your board packets. And the term is for 3 years. Building tours, we did ask you to please bring your calendar books with you. Mr. Stafford is gonna coordinate a couple dates to perform the building tour before school starts. We were thinking that if we did 2 buildings at a time, like Iron River and maybe the high school, and then we, end up doing middle school and elementary for the second date. Mr. Stafford, would you think an hour and a half is long enough for each of the 2 tours? And it won't take longer than that, I don't think. Iron River, my goodness, you'll be out of there in 30 minutes most, and have time to get here and then 45 minutes or so here. I'm hoping that it will work for your calendar to do a meet at 3:30 and be done by 5. Would that work okay? I know you already have a meeting on Tuesday, the 10th at 9 in the morning, But if it's okay, could we do a 3:30 on that Tuesday, August 10th? Trying to do this before kids get here,
I'm
okay?
good with it.
All right, so 3:30. We would meet at Iron River Elementary School, and then we would come back to here. So, IRES, then NHS tour. We'll meet right at the front doors, is it Pettigale or whatever that road is? Not, okay.
I'm no good on that.
Oh, you're no good on the 10th. Oh, okay, what? Wish you would have spoken now.
I didn't want to interrupt. You were really going on a roll. I was like, all right, she's just doing it.
Okay,
He was on a roll.
are you going on vacation?
No,
Okay, I've got other stuff.
He's not telling.
Well,
Don't tell her.
we got 7 kids in the house right now, so I got dentist appointments and
got it,
somebody's got to watch kids.
okay.
That's-
Would Wednesday the 11th be it?
No,
No, okay.
Anniversary.
Would Thursday the 12th?
No.
Okay.
Alrighty. So far, so good.
Yeah, right. We may not be able to have 100%, but I hate to do that. All right, let's try.
Yeah, on the timing, I mean, it's maybe not possible to do this, but it would be beneficial if the head custodians were there. They're gonna be able to tell you, you know, some things in more detail, plus they have all the keys, some of the rooms that are, you know, not every building is uniform, the key with the master.
Right, so you're thinking earlier in the day because they're there?
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
flexible.
How
Okay.
about right away in the morning?
Yeah, that's great.
I could do 3rd and 4th, the week before.
I'm coming back from New Orleans.
Okay.
Here's the thing, if you wanna do the 12th that I can't make it, I'm very familiar with the building.
Yeah.
You sure are.
So
Yeah.
I mean, if I.
Adam is available the morning of the 10th from this calendar.
See,
But I don't know if
that's
you
the
are.
calendar.
There's the calendar that matters.
That's the one.
I'm not sorry.
Well, the morning of the 10th, we have a meeting.
Okay.
We have a different.
You've been recognized.
Yeah, I mean, it's iffy.
But this
Right.
morning is open.
Morning is open on the
This
12th.
isn't.
She said the 10th.
The whole morning on the 10th, okay,
Yeah,
but
that's,
Paul isn't because that ad hoc committee,
it's so, yeah, Brian.
Well, but that meeting is tentative anyway,
it is.
so you could change that one.
We totally could because this is a lot harder to
That's right.
schedule than that one.
That's right.
Okay,
Except for golf days.
and potentially,
Look
what time is he available?
at it. Yeah.
She said that, but she doesn't know what I do in the morning. Are we doing this at like 6:30 in the morning?
No, we
Or-
no.
I don't calls up.
Yes,
We want the custodians there, right?
we do, and they're there by 6.
I mean, part of it is, I mean, I'm familiar with the high school. I'm not super familiar with Iron River Elementary. So what time are the kids' ortho appointments on that day?
It's not just.
I know.
2:50,
Yes.
that's the day you have to meet with the work.
Oh, I know. That's right.
Well, we could flip flop, could we do
Well, that's what I'm wondering, if
Yeah,
you do the
why
high
don't we
school
flip-flop? We do
first.
the high school first, and then we do the elementary.
But I'm probably, well, that's at 2:50.
Because that would be 3:30 to
If we did like
4:30 or
4:45.
15, and then we get right over, it takes 25 minutes max to get to Iron River, and you're done.
I can make that work. I can, if we could swap them. I
Are
can
we on the
make it
right
work.
day now?
We are on the
10th.
10th,
The 10th.
We're on the
we're on the 10th, because he was the
Okay,
only one.
at,
And we're gonna be at 3:30
At the high school.
at the high school. Then IRES.
4:30.
And at the
4:45.
front door, then we call it what drive? Which front door?
Well, so now NHS, we're gonna meet right here.
Oh, all right.
We're just gonna be right here at
Okay.
at the district office. We'll take off right from here.
And then you're wanting to do the 11th for the other two schools?
I was, but if you know,
August 11th,
August, no, I don't.
That was bad for me.
42nd anniversary.
When-
Oh,
Wanna make it
yeah,
the
God, that's
43.
before, got it. And during the day, would be preferred, because now we're gonna have to ask the head custodians to shift their hours to please accommodate us for that 3:30. Could we on Thursday, the 12th, anytime during the day? Is that the bad day for you?
The late afternoon would be bad.
Right, but
Morning
we're
would probably be fine, or what do you think?
Okay,
That's the day I can't.
but Sherry can. What, you're so familiar with?
That's any yes or no.
Yeah, but now it'd
I
be
know
kind of fun for her.
NES like my back, the back of my hand, so I should be okay with that one.
Sure, about how you.
And I also taught at the middle school.
Okay,
So don't hold back for
don't
me.
hold. Well,
Can we,
we can do whatever you want. What do you think?
Private tours, one at a time.
Well, that's how it was originally set up. I remember
Private tours?
I remember when I first got on the board, it was contact the principals and they'll take you through it.
Yeah.
Each school, that's something, I mean, I never did it, but.
we're
I
talking
know, and that's why
Thursday
we're
right
doing this.
No, but I mean, I'm saying that's how it was originally.
now. Oh, you can't do Thursday.
Yeah.
Come from the office.
You can't do Friday.
What,
What did he say about herding cats? a little while ago?
yes! Yes.
Can we do it like,
What about before the board meeting on
well,
the
that's what I'm
9th?
wondering, why don't we just do it before that? We're
We're
forced to
busy.
be done. I mean, you have to be here by 5.
You gotta be here.
That's NES and.
So it'd be NES and NMS, and we would start at 3:30?
Oh, we will make it. I think we start at 3.
Okay, all right. Start at 3.
What day?
On Monday, the 9th, we'd start at 3. And let's do the elementary first, just because there's so much more there. And then if, because there's very little that's happening over at the middle school. This way they can have as much time as they want at, so 3 o'clock, are we gonna catch you, Sherry?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's 2 days before your anniversary, is that okay?
I had to
All right.
sacrifice my.
Even one day before, I'm good.
for the retreat.
Is
See, you
Which
did
day?
sing
Oh,
to
did
me.
we? Okay,
It is,
see how memorable that was? Yes. All right, so.
See, I remember.
Well, I'm glad, that's all that matters. All right, building tour, 3 o'clock. Paul, I'm sorry, we're gonna need to ask our head custodian to shift his hours on 3 o'clock. We'll do NES first, we'll meet right at the front doors, and then we'll go to NMS. And we need to be done by 4:45, so we can get back here for a 5 o'clock. Got her. Okay,
That's the
that
hardest
took the
part of the
longest of
meeting.
anything.
Cats heard it.
Okay. Thank you.
Right.
Okay,
School handbooks, and I think we
Yes,
just need
you
to
have them.
have these.
correct. And we're on to revenue. You got yours?
Yep.
Okay.
And I assume they
More
kind of,
reading.
they spell out what the changes are.
Are in there. Peggy, the changes are right in there?
Are the
Yes.
changes-
Yes.
They're all in there, and the folders are divided up by building. And then there's one that's coaches and handbooks in there, so it should be pretty easy.
That's always very well done, by the way.
Thank you.
All right, revenue report, Mr. Staff.
Okay, developing the revenue budget, there hasn't been much to do on it really until recently. We got our mandatory July 1/8 estimate. And that came in at $842,000 more than last year. Now, they also give us a template for figuring out the revenue cap calculation, and in using that, which is subject to change, I don't know that everything is final in the legislature. When I plug that in, most of that money virtually goes to the taxpayers in the levy. Because unless, think of it in terms of this, let's say that you've got $12 million of cap revenue, okay? And that is comprised of state aid, and that cap revenue minus the aid is the levy. You back into the levy every year. Okay, so if the 12 million, last year was 12 million worth of cap revenue. This year's 12 million cap revenue. In other words, there's virtually no change. And then you say, okay, we're going to give you $842,000 of state aid. You're simply subtracting that from the 12 million. And so thus, all the state aid goes to the taxpayer to produce the levy. It's somewhat of a ruse, because you got the legislators saying, well, we're gonna give you money, and in reality, it's a gift to the taxpayers. So the mill rate.
Zero increase on the allowable per pupil increase.
Well, that, inside the cap, that's true, yes, there was no increase. There's also a per pupil aid that's outside of it, and they've indicated, at least to date, that there's no increase in that either. Last year, that was 923,000. This year, it only changed, actually, the per pupil amount stayed the same, but the calculations were down a few students. So that calculation comes out at 918,000. So there's some other areas that are going up. High cost transportation aid is going up. We don't know exactly what that is yet, but that's a big number. Last year it was 672,000. So the ESSER 2 and 3 monies, they have not posted the reduced ESSER 3 money yet. The ESSER 2 money was dropped a little bit, only by a couple %. So that's at 513,000. But that's what we're going to use to pay for the renovation at NES. So overall, it's showing revenue is less, but there's a lot of time yet, even with the legislature, as far as what could happen. If enough schools complain, maybe they would do something with the pupil aid. I don't know. So it's still in development. Let's put it that way.
All right. We have the monthly maintenance report in our packets. Any questions about that? WASB correspondence and legislative report, Mrs. Olson.
Just a couple things. One that everyone probably already knows, Governor Evers signed a 21-23 state budget with no major changes to the K-12 provisions as passed by the legislature, and allocated an additional $100 million in one-time federal funding for schools and COVID relief funds under the governor's direction. In his statement regarding increasing school funding, he stated the language used in the bill did not provide an avenue to increase funding with a line item veto, as he did in the last budget. And he was not willing to risk the $2.3 billion in federal funds for schools with a full veto. The $100 million will be used to support kids in the classroom, hire educators, staff, provide additional educational or mental health supports, buy art supplies, computers, keep the lights on, whatever is needed. The other thing that came to light was the GOP legislation proposing a massive overhaul of reading readiness programs, including numerous strict mandates on the school boards, citing Wisconsin's failing rank in reading proficiency. Luckily, we're not there. Compared to other states, there's a list of stringent new mandates relating to screening, assessments, interventions, parental notifications, and reporting requirements. The new mandates are very specific, even dictating what companies and products must be approved for use. Current law does not define the term at risk. It's Assembly Bill 446. I don't know if it's gone through or if that's just what they're putting out there. Yeah. To create a personal reading plan for each student in kindergarten through 2nd grade who was identified at risk, which means they scored below the 25 percentile. It goes on to include 4K, Tier 1, 2, 3, parent notification requirements, reporting requirements. From the information I read on the full bill, I think we do a lot of it already, from what I know of Title I. But I think it is going to keep our Title I teachers, our reading teachers very busy. I think there's going to be more paperwork involved, and which, having a new teacher, hasn't come through quite the full schooling yet. I'm grateful she has Catherine Williams that she can guide her, and but it's going to be a full-time job, both of them. Catherine is only half-time, a little more. I'm sorry.
Thank you. CISA 12 report. I hope we'll be able to hear.
Can you read my writing?
I have to just paraphrase.
of the year, we got a few changes that are going to be coming for the board of control, but also, he is eager to work with all 17 school districts, in the Susan 12 area, and he has already made appointments with us, and going to be meeting with each school district, and, trying to find out if there's any more programs that we need to do, and then a better way of being more efficient with working with the school districts. And, we are also looking for a few more hires for season 12. And then, a couple of staffers still are working with we have the mental health summit this fall. October, I think, is the date we're looking for that. And, I have a meeting for tomorrow night, so that's all I have for you.
My specific meeting with Nick Madison is tomorrow at 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. So those meetings have started.
And I'm sure you couldn't hear that, but Dr. Dominic Madison is the new, I don't know, what is his title?
CISA 12 administrator.
Administrator.
He's not a graduate of here, is he?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nick, I remember Nick.
Mhm.
He's great.
So they're getting to know him and he's getting to know all the schools, it sounds like. Thank you, Gail. Donation,
None.
okay, and probably no recognitions tonight, okay. All right, we have reached the comments from the audience time in the meeting. Do you have any comments tonight? Okay, well, thank you for coming, and I would look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn tonight's meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Just like to say, it's been nice to be back in this room. I'm here every